Ravenwood Hall stood hidden deep within a quiet countryside, surrounded by sprawling fields and dense groves of ancient trees. The grand estate, with its timeless architecture, seemed like a relic from another world, untouched by the hustle of modern life. Sophia Bennett gripped the steering wheel of her compact car, her eyes fixed on the gravel driveway leading to the imposing mansion. As a rising star in physical therapy, she was no stranger to challenging cases, yet this assignment filled her with a mix of apprehension and determination. "Focus, Sophia. It's just another job," she murmured to herself, her fingers tightening slightly on the wheel. Her patient, Lucas Sinclair, was once a legend in Formula One racing. He had basked in the glory of fame and victory until a devastating accident abruptly ended his career, leaving him confined to a wheelchair and shrouded in solitude. Ravenwood Hall loomed into view, its towering structure casting long shadows in the fading sunlight. The weathered stone walls radiated a sense of mystery and isolation. Sophia parked near the grand entrance, taking a deep breath as she prepared to face what might be the greatest challenge of her career. Sophia climbed the stone steps leading to the grand entrance of Ravenwood Hall. Before she could raise her hand to knock on the intricately carved wooden doors, they swung open, revealing an older woman with a stern expression. "You must be Miss Bennett," the woman said, her tone formal yet cool. "Yes, I'm Sophia Bennett," she replied, maintaining a professional smile. "Perfect. I'm Margaret Hensley, the housekeeper at Ravenwood. Mr. Sinclair values punctuality, so I trust you will always be as timely as you are today." Margaret led Sophia through expansive hallways lit by soft, golden light. The mansion was stately but devoid of warmth. No family photos adorned the walls, and no personal touches softened the cold elegance of the decor. "He's in the library," Margaret said, stopping before a set of grand double doors. "I should warn you, Mr. Sinclair is in a particularly difficult mood today." Sophia nodded, steadying her breath as Margaret pushed the doors open. The library was vast, its towering bookshelves bathed in the morning sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. There, silhouetted against the light, sat Lucas Sinclair in his wheelchair, his piercing blue eyes fixed on her. "Another one," he said, his voice cutting and laced with sarcasm. "How long did they say you'd last? A week? Or 3 days before you give up and leave?" Sophia held her ground, stepping further into the room. "I'm here because of your schedule and your insurance, Mr. Sinclair. Whether or not your life is worth living is entirely your concern. My job is to ensure your body doesn't deteriorate while you decide." Lucas blinked, a flicker of surprise crossing his features before he quickly masked it with indifference. Margaret cleared her throat softly. "I'll leave you two to it." The doors closed behind her, leaving Sophia and Lucas alone in the charged silence. "Shall we begin?" Sophia asked, keeping her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "You can try," Lucas replied, his gaze locked on her, as if testing the resolve of this young therapist. The first few days at Ravenwood Hall were a true test of Sophia's patience. Lucas Sinclair didn't just refuse to cooperate, he actively made her job more difficult. "Do you honestly believe a few simple exercises are going to change anything?" he asked, his tone as biting as ever. "I used to be the fastest man in the world, and now I can't even stand." Sophia took a deep breath, steadying herself. "That's true, Mr. Sinclair. You can't stand, but that doesn't mean your body has to get weaker." Her persistence and professionalism annoyed Lucas, yet he couldn't entirely dismiss her. After a few sessions, Sophia began to notice subtle changes in his demeanor. One morning, as she assessed his range of motion, she caught him looking at her differently. The sarcasm in his gaze was still there, but beneath it was something softer, something almost vulnerable. "Do you experience phantom pain often?" Sophia asked, her tone deliberately gentle. Lucas stared at her for a long moment before replying, his voice quieter than usual. "All the time, especially at night. It's like I'm still trapped in that burning car." His words stopped her in her tracks. For the first time, he'd revealed a piece of the deep pain he worked so hard to hide. "I can't fully understand what that feels like," she said, meeting his eyes, "but I can help you through it." Lucas let out a harsh, humorless laugh. "You're awfully confident, Miss Bennet." Sophia didn't reply. She simply continued taking notes, focusing on her work, but inside she knew something between them was shifting. In the days that followed, Lucas became less resistant. Each time Sophia gave him instructions, he followed them, begrudgingly, but without the usual arguments. And though he never said it aloud, she could see the trust growing in his eyes. One afternoon, as the golden hues of sunset filtered through the library windows, Lucas broke the silence. "You make me remember who I was before the accident." Sophia offered him a small, encouraging smile. "Then let me help you find that person again." Sophia didn't expect their therapy session to be interrupted by a sudden knock at the door. Margaret stepped in, her expression unusually tense. "Mr. Sinclair, there are 2 visitors here to see you," Margaret announced. "They say it's urgent." Lucas frowned, clearly displeased. "I'm not seeing anyone." "It's Andrew Coleman and Richard Hale," Margaret added. Sophia immediately recognized the names. Andrew had been Lucas's manager and Richard was the owner of his former racing team. Lucas hesitated for a moment before nodding reluctantly. "Fine, let them in." The library doors opened and 2 men entered, their tension palpable. "Lucas," Andrew began, his voice carefully measured, "we have important news." Richard placed a USB drive on the desk. "We've found evidence about your accident." Lucas froze, his icy gaze fixed on them. "The accident was my fault. I pushed the car too hard and ignored the crew's warnings." "It wasn't," Richard countered firmly. "The security cameras in the maintenance bay recorded footage. Someone tampered with your car's steering system. This wasn't mechanical failure, it was sabotage." Sophia held her breath, watching Lucas. Anger and pain warred in his expression. "Who did it?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. "We don't have definitive proof yet," Andrew replied, "but the evidence points to Vail Racing, the team that wanted to buy out your team after the crash tanked its value." Lucas turned away, gripping the arms of his wheelchair tightly. "I've blamed myself for so long, and now you're telling me it was all a lie?" Sophia stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Lucas," she said softly, kneeling beside him and placing her hand gently on his shoulder. "This wasn't your fault, but now you have the chance to take back control, to stand up not just for yourself, but for everyone who believed in you." He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. "I need time to process this." Andrew and Richard nodded, leaving the library and the heavy silence that lingered in their wake. Lucas looked up at Sophia, his eyes filled with turmoil. "What do you think I should do, Sophia?" Her voice was steady and resolute. "Face the truth, Lucas. Not just to free yourself, but to stand up for the people who stood by you." Lucas stared at her for a long moment before nodding, a newfound determination flickering in his eyes. After the visitors left, Sophia noticed Lucas was quieter than usual. That evening, she decided to stay at the mansion to ensure he didn't spiral further into his pain. Margaret guided her to the conservatory, a space filled with the sweet scent of jasmine and the soft glow of hanging lights above. Lucas was seated among the rows of flowers, his gaze distant as he stared through the large glass panes. Sophia approached him cautiously, sensing the weight of the silence surrounding him. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Lucas didn't turn, his voice low and heavy with emotion. "I've built my entire life around guilt. I don't know who I am without it." Sophia sat down on the bench beside him, the distance between them no longer feeling significant. "You're a survivor, Lucas. You've endured everything and made it this far. You're stronger than you think." He turned to her, his piercing blue eyes searching hers. "Why do you care so much about me?" Sophia took a deep breath, feeling her heart race. "Because I see someone worth saving, someone who doesn't just need help, but deserves it." Lucas closed his eyes, a faint, bitter smile playing on his lips. "You're stubborn, Sophia." "Maybe," she replied with a gentle laugh, "but I'm not leaving." In that moment, the walls between them seemed to crumble. Lucas reached out, hesitating before his hand gently rested against her cheek. "You make me want to feel again, to live again." Sophia felt the warmth of his touch, but her rational mind reminded her it wasn't the right time. She stood, breaking the tension with a soft smile. "I'll help you feel again, Lucas, but first we need to finish your therapy." Lucas chuckled, this time without sarcasm, but with genuine warmth. "Then, where do we start?" The day of the hearing dawned, and Ravenwood Hall was quieter than usual. Sophia stood by the window, watching Lucas carefully adjust his tie in front of the mirror. Today, he wasn't in his familiar wheelchair. Instead, he leaned on a sleek, modern carbon cane, a testament to his determination over the past week. "Are you ready?" Sophia asked, her voice soft but encouraging. Lucas turned to her, a mixture of resolve and apprehension in his eyes. "I don't know, but with you by my side, I think I can face anything." Together, they stepped into the car. Lucas gripped his cane tightly, standing tall. During the drive to the racing board headquarters, Sophia placed her hand over his, silently offering strength. When they arrived, the flashes of cameras lit up the entrance. Reporters shouted questions over one another. "Mr. Sinclair, was your accident sabotage? Miss Bennett, are you still his therapist?" Lucas remained composed, giving only a polite nod to the chaos. Inside the hearing room, the atmosphere was heavy with tension. The board sat elevated above the rest, while representatives from Vail Racing stood to the side, their expressions guarded. The hearing stretched on for hours. Evidence from security footage, maintenance records, and financial transactions was meticulously presented. Sophia watched as Lucas stood, leaning on his cane for support, and addressed the board. 10 months ago, I believe the accident was my fault. I blamed myself, tore myself apart with guilt. But today, I stand here, not to reclaim my reputation, but to protect the people who work tirelessly for our team, people who don't deserve to bear the consequences of this conspiracy. The room fell silent, the weight of his words settling over everyone present. When the hearing concluded, Lucas walked out with Sophia at his side, his face lighter than she'd ever seen it. Reporters swarmed once more, but this time, he didn't avoid them. "What are your plans now, Mr. Sinclair?" one journalist called out. Lucas paused, smiling, and answered calmly, "To keep healing. Not just for myself, but for others." And he turned to Sophia, taking her hand, "To love this extraordinary woman, who reminded me that sometimes crashes lead us exactly where we're meant to be." The sun set behind the hills, painting the sky in warm hues as Sophia and Lucas stepped into the garden at Ravenwood Hall. This was the spot where Lucas once told her his mother believed any problem could be solved while sitting among blooming roses. "There's something I want to give you," Lucas said, settling onto the stone bench near the rose bushes. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. When he opened it, the item inside wasn't a ring. Sophia looked at the carefully polished, antique key resting inside. "What is this?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. "The key to the conservatory," Lucas explained. "I've had it restored, to make it our space. It's where we had our first dance, where we spoke the truth about how we feel. I want it to be a place for our dreams and our new beginning." Sophia smiled, her eyes glistening with tears. "Are you asking me to move in with you?" Lucas looked at her with hopeful eyes. "I'm asking you to build a life with me." Sophia stood, taking his hand and pulling him to his feet. "Then dance with me," she whispered. Lucas set his cane aside and wrapped his arms around her. They moved slowly among the roses, bathed in the gentle light of the moon. "I've dreamed of this," Lucas murmured against her ear. "Holding you without barriers, loving you without fear." Sophia looked up at him, her eyes shimmering in the soft glow. "And I've dreamed of finding someone who makes me feel like I belong. That someone is you." They continued to dance in silence, their breaths and heartbeats perfectly in sync. "What'll we do next?" Sophia asked softly. Lucas smiled, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "Build new dreams and do it together." That night, surrounded by the scent of jasmine and the glow of moonlight, they began a new chapter, not with unfinished dreams, but with a shared belief in a future filled with hope. A few months later, on a magical evening, the conservatory glowed under a canopy of golden fairy lights. Lucas had transformed the space into a garden of dreams. Vibrant blooms of roses, lilies, and jasmine lined every corner, their scents mingling in the air. The floor was a carpet of soft petals, leading to the center where a small table held candles flickering softly. casting shadows that danced across the glass walls. Lucas, now able to take small, careful steps, stood waiting for her in the heart of it all. When Sophia entered, she gasped at the breathtaking scene. "Lucas, what is all of this?" He walked toward her slowly, his gaze locked on hers. When he reached her, he steadied himself and knelt on one knee, pulling out a small box from his pocket. "Sophia Bennett," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you didn't just heal my body, Sophia. You brought light back into my life when all I saw was darkness. You believed in me when I had given up on myself. You made me dream again. Will you take this journey with me, not just as my partner, but as my heart and my hope for the rest of our lives?" Sophia covered her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Yes, Lucas, yes, I will!" He slid the ring onto her finger, and as he stood, they embraced amidst the flowers. Their wedding took place in the conservatory, the very place where all their dreams had begun. The space overflowed with fresh flowers, roses, jasmine, and wildflowers that Sophia loved. Lucas, in a sharp suit, walked confidently without his cane or wheelchair, making his way toward Sophia, his bride, radiant in her white gown that outshone even the flowers around her. They exchanged vows surrounded by the joyful smiles of friends and family. As Lucas kissed Sophia, petals rained down, blessing their union and the bright future ahead. Their story didn't end in sorrow or regret, but in hope, love, and a reminder that miracles aren't always grand gestures. They often come from love, persistence, and the faith we place in each other.